Hello everyone, I'm Michael Corrigan and this is the Journey Continues podcast where we speak to interesting individuals about how they've navigated challenges in their lives. Our mission is not to provide advice, but it is 100% about providing insight into what our guests were thinking and feeling through these times so that you can best cherry pick the information that resonates with you the most. I'm very excited for today as this is episode 1, our very first episode. And we're kicking things off with a bang. So this is with award-winning fashion designer Kirsteen Stewart. Building on her experiences from across the globe, including with fashion houses of New York and the tech developers in China, Kirsteen designs vibrant womenswear and accessories which are infused with her signature blend of vivid colours and bold graphics, all with a real focus on sustainability. Born and based in the magical Orkney Islands in the north of Scotland, she's taken her designs to the world with international stockings in the UK, EU, and the USA. Kirsteen, welcome. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Michael. What a lovely introduction. Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Yeah, life is good at the moment, and as I was saying, the weather has been incredible in Orkney, and it's been very inspiring of late. So, enjoying myself, enjoying my life.
Good stuff, good stuff. So let's kind of kick things off and get straight into it then. So where were you when this all kicked off, and I guess what was going through your mind, and what are the memories like?
So when it's kicked off in March last year, you mean, yeah. So I was in my little beach house. I love and live in a beautiful little house in Orkney in Tannkernas, situated right by the sea. And I remember as this started to unfold and it started to become and feel more real, that kind of the instant feelings and reactions that you go through. For quite a long time, it felt like this was a situation that was in China and away over there, and we don't need to worry about that. And then as the news started to become closer and unfold, you start to think about, how is this going to impact us? How long for? And then I think really it hit home with the announcement from Boris Johnson, saying that we were going into lockdown, and that reality of this is really happening. This is really happening right now. And it hit me, but there was a kind of excitement, fear, if you know what I mean, because there was this unknown situation. But I felt that, in this place in Orkney in Scotland, we've got such a strong community that I knew people would help each other. We would help each other, and I was in a place that I would be happy to help each other. I was in a good place in my life to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But had no idea how it was going to impact my business or the people around me. So there was a fear there too. I don't know if excitement's the right word. It was kind of a let's get ready, kind of, we can do it. Rolling up my sleeves kind of attitude, and a willingness to be able to help. I think that was it, to go into helper mode. That's how I felt. And your emotions changed quite rapidly over those days. I don't know about you, but one minute you'd be very low, and then you were like, no, come on, we can do this. And you would chat to a friend and you would say, but look at what you've got around you. You've got to keep. And I remember at that stage having a conversation with my gran. And I will always remember her words, having lived through the war. She said, well, Kirsteen, there's just nothing for it. You've just got to keep your pecker up. And I just, whenever I felt a bit low dough, that my granny saying those words to me just made me laugh so much.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I tried to check in with her quite regularly because she was on her own, although had my uncle coming in, but she was used to people visiting, and wasn't able to use technology in the way we were, and we had some great conversations over that period of time about how they as a family got through the war and things that happened. It was really insightful, and just it made me think, okay, we can do this. We have so much more around us, and the use of technology to be able to connect with people.
How did it kind of affect the day-to-day with the business and daily routines and stuff like that?
I worked from home, but I was able to go into my studio in town and do the post weekly, and that was a real godsend. I have 2 horses as well to look after, so that it was those daily routines that really kept me going. I have to get up and feed my 2 guys, and that the tasks bookend the day. So I get up early in the morning, I feed them and muck them out, and then I go and feed them and make sure they're okay, and bed them down, and those kind of bookended the day. And then I broke up the day by having a swim or some kind of exercise at lunchtime, and I worked from home and broke it down into chunks and made sure that that didn't happen instantly. There were certain things I had to do, but there were other things that I found helped me during the day, to whether it was to connect with somebody, to make a phone call, to have a Zoom chat, or to go for a walk, to get outside, because there was a lot of frustration at that period of time of what you could and couldn't do. I think, but initially my own routine really helped me, and there were a couple of days for, I think I'd mentioned this previously, but I stayed in my horse clothes, my horsey clothes, or I didn't get dressed for the day, and those were the days that really impacted me. And that's when I started the Get Dressed for Friday campaign online, because I thought it helped me realise I dress for myself, and it makes me feel a certain way, and it brings me a joy. And I thought other people were struggling in that way too. So I wanted to do something online, and I had to use what I had around me. I had samples in the house, and I had the landscape around me. I had my phone, and I had, I learned pretty quickly what I could and couldn't do, or more so what I could do, and I challenged myself with that, and that was fun. That took up some time, and I felt like I was learning something new, gave me a purpose.
So it was awesome, because I remember seeing it, and it got quite a big reaction. A lot of people were sharing it, and a lot of people were getting involved.
Yeah, it was great, and there was lots of lovely comments and messages came through. Even the people that maybe didn't feel that they wanted to put a photo up, they would send me one privately, or they would say, I've taken part today and this is what I'm wearing. And just those connections, and it was lovely, because I felt I was really putting myself out there in a different way, having usually created designs, worked with a model and a photographer. It was very rare for me to get in front of the camera and to model the clothes myself. So it felt pretty scary. They said, just putting yourself on show, but it was a real confidence booster and builder as well. I remember one night standing on the dike next to my house, because I thought, well, this is a really good setting. I need this shot. Standing on a dike in my high heels and a dress, and my neighbour going by in a tractor. I just had to laugh at the completely absurd, situation I found myself. Well, I put myself in, but it was a lot of fun, and it seemed to inspire people, and that's what I really want my work to do, is to inspire people, and to inspire people to have the confidence in themselves, to dress for themselves, to feel good about themselves, because everybody has something. Everybody, has a light to shine, and I hope I enable people to do that.
Awesome. How was the impact on the business? Because obviously a lot of businesses have went through some tough times over the last year or so. What was that like in terms of adjusting?
I'd actually had a really difficult period of time 2 years previous. So I had reduced my business back, and scaled things back, and I was just about to relaunch. So, I was just getting everything ready and prepared, but in the traditional way of preparing and getting ready. And I say traditional, but I'd learned a lot in that period of time. So I had made changes in production, in printing methods, and I was still evolving at that stage, but I was just gearing myself up to go, here we go, here are the new designs, this is what I'm working on. And I had to kind of pull back what I had planned and think again on my feet, use what I had, use what I could, look at how production was going to be affected. And after that period of 2 years, I was actually quite used to that. And in many ways I was lucky, because I'd had to reduce anyway. So I'd had a retail outlet, which I'd sold that part of the business beforehand. So,
Yeah.
there were things that would have been really, huge hurdles to overcome. But I'd kind of ticked through off that list and reduced anyway. So it helped me rethink business, and it helped me rethink the products I was working on. I'd been really keen to try out homeware, and because I was working at home, I was very aware of my home environment, my home space. And again, like the clothes you wear, your environment and your home really impacts how you feel about yourself, how your well-being. So I started to design samples for homeware, and that was really fun. I got my creativity moving in a different direction, and it's definitely opened up doors throughout the year. So for me, just to create a beautiful home environment was beautiful, but then I've been able to open that up to customers as well, and it's been really refreshing.
So what triggered the decision to start to take things back before the pandemic?
So I'd been through a very difficult personal circumstance that I realised latterly I had no control over, and my husband, his life became consumed by alcohol addiction, and I tried to help him, but at the same time was trying to keep my business running, and my personal life really it unfolded quite slowly. If I look back, and there was a chain reaction of events that unfolded, and they unfolded in my personal life, which I tried to manage and control it, and keep it together, and then that impacted my work life, and I reacted in certain ways at that time, due to where I was and how I felt about the situation, and it then once it impacted my personal life, my home life, and then it impacted my health. And it was really at the stage where it impacted my health, I had to completely rein back. I was forced to, and at that time I was quite angry about that. But I realise now it's helped me in so many ways to be able to focus on your own health, because you can't actually help anyone else unless you're in a position and a healthy position to be able to do that. So I learned a lot in that period of time. It was really hard.
Yeah.
And at one point I didn't have a home. I didn't know where I was going to live, and that being faced with that and overcoming that is, you can't deal with all the other things. I don't know, but if you know about the Maslow triangle, and that might be something to share afterwards. But there's certain levels, and if your foundation is completely rocked, you can't work on other things until you've got that stability, until you've got that security. You can't focus on the other things, and that really shook me to the core. And it was a really humbling period of time where I was just frantic, to be honest. And then I slowly started to rebuild, and people helped me along the way. And it's given me a much greater understanding, and I think it's helped me become a much better and more grounded person now, definitely.
What was it like going through that time? And you've obviously got a massive thing going on in your life, and then obviously you're running a business as well.
Yeah.
And you've got people depending on you. And how do you? Yeah, can you talk me through that a little bit?
Yeah, it just it was a period of time like no other. I felt like I was firefighting every single day and every single night, but wasn't conscious enough to put the brakes on things. I felt like I need to keep this going, and I was juggling a lot and trying to forge ahead with things, because I felt, well, if I have security in my business, and then I can support us both through this. But actually both of our works were part of the issue and part of the problem, and things need to come to a complete standstill for us to be able to see that. But it was daily firefighting, and it was exhausting, and there were points where I didn't want to carry on. I didn't want to get up in the morning. And I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had those 2 horses to feed. I just wouldn't have done it. It was so shocking, and there were lots of things that unfolded, but there were always people to help, and there was always something every day that inspired me to keep going, whether it was a phone call or a message or a something good would come up. And if you can focus on those and see those, then you can start to build forward.
Yeah. When events like that happen in life, you take stock, you perhaps reprioritize what's important to you. You maybe refine what's important to you as well. So you talked about that foundational piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is that evolved in your thinking now? And yeah, we always constantly evolve and become different people as we go through life, and become ideally become a truer version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has that changed for you?
I think it's given me a real gratitude for things I took for granted before, the basics in life. If you've got those, you've got everything. If you've got your health, you have everything, and you can then go on to do so much more. But yeah, those they're not small things, they're the big things. We need to flip it on its head, and appreciate the family we have around us or not, just the love, our friendships. And I think I had that period of 2 years really looking at that, or having things taken away and things taken out the picture or moving away from them. And then last year for me felt like everybody was in the same boat, and lots of people were having to examine their lives, their patterns, what they've really appreciated, looking at what they couldn't do and what they could do. And I felt so lucky because I'd had that period of time where I'd learned a lot of these really hard and good lessons, and I was able to help others last year because my foundation had already been rocked. And I was able to support others, but I was still on a massive healing and learning journey of my own. Last year as well, and it reduced other things away and took the speed I was used to working, and the travel. I know you were impacted in that way too. The travel and movement that we took, that we both had within our work, was taken away and removed. And again, and that opened my eyes to right now and what's happening on my doorstep or what's around me, and how that can inspire me in my work, inspire me in my relationships. And just really that appreciation for all these things that I actually have.
I think it's one of those things where it's almost like one of the kind of cliche lines of be grateful and be thankful for what you have and stuff, but it is so true. And it also makes life simpler as well, because it's a foundational thing that's true to you, and there's less things to think about, because there's these, instead of 100 things you need to look after that are a mixture of superficial but you have the kind of 4 or 5 things in there, or the 5 or 6 things in there that are core to you and what makes you happy and stuff. Actually going through that journey of life and discovering what they are for you and focusing on those things, it's kind of like the 80-20 thing of 20% of the things that are part of your life are probably the things that have the most impact in your life.
Yeah, that's it. And I think for me, it was looking at a healthier balance in life, because I was I worked really hard for a long period of time, and I was actually missing out on life. And a lot of relationships were impacted because of that, and because I was always striving to the next goal and the next goal, and then I reached that, and then I just set myself a new one because I was trying to, continue to prove myself, I think, to myself. But I'm very driven as well. So I'm still excited, and I'm building on my business. But learning to work with others in in a healthy way, learning to have balance, to exercise more, get outside more. And I hope lots of people are doing that this year, because we need to rethink the way we were working, because you don't want to miss out on life and all the good things and joy that life can bring you. There's a lot more to it, and actually then you can work really well, because you're in a healthy place, a healthy mindset, and you make better decisions. And at the time I was having a very difficult time. I was making really not great decisions, risky decisions that I felt like, well, this will help, and this will connect with this, and this will help. And actually it really didn't. I'm going to take that back. I took the path I took, and I learned a lot along the way. But sometimes I did make things incredibly difficult for myself. And I had to face up to those decisions that I made at the time.
Mm-hmm. What are the things that you've been thinking about and doing to manage the situation that we're in right now? Because we all feel quite isolated. So how are you kind of managing that?
Collaborative working is one of the ways, I think, going forward. And I always, as I said, knew we had a great community in Orkney, and that was one of the things I really reached out and started to work with craft makers and producers and designers and artists within Orkney and make those connections. And I love chatting to them about their processes and sharing their work with others. And then that started to help me open up a bit and think about collaborative working in other ways, and out with Orkney as well. So the one collaborative project I'm working at the moment is called Scara Homes, and that's to launch in March, and that's a collaboration with 6 Orcadian interior designers, and we're styling pieces together, coming together to create this new business, to help approach our marketing. So we're working with the marketing guru, Sasha Woolam, who has been a real inspiration to me last year, and her work ethos and her way of working has had a real impact on the way I work and live my life. So we're about to launch that, and that's opened the doors for connections with other makers, and we've started to design together, which is something we hope to continue doing. And making more connections for production. I think that's the other thing. Looking at the changes we need to make, especially in fashion, because fashion has had a real impact on the world, on the planet, and we need to look at better ways to work, better, whether it's fabrics or ways of producing the fabrics, right from the start to the finish. We need to look at that and how it impacts the world we live in, and use that in a positive way rather than a negative way. And it's really I'm at a starting place with this all, but I'm looking at circular economy, fair pricing, and opening up these conversations online through social media as well, because it's really interesting to hear from customers, their thoughts and those connections as well. So I feel like I'm at the start of something really exciting. Last year felt like the start. This year feels like doors are opening in lots of different ways. And it was a really good year for opening up conversations with lots of other creatives and lots of other businesses. And I wasn't as afraid to do that as I had been previously. I think everybody was open and willing to do that.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. When we originally spoke, you mentioned learning to dance is something that you've been doing to, just manage the situation and a bit of fun and stuff. So can you tell me a bit about that, please?
Yes, I didn't realise I loved dancing so much until last year, and I really missed going to weddings in Orkney, and there's lots of great dances that happen in Orkney in the communities, harvest homes and things like that. And I didn't go to them all, but I didn't realise how much I'd missed them until they were taken away. And going out dancing, whether it's in a pub or a club, I'd really missed it. My gran was a great dancer and enjoyed it, and she left. She's really sadly, I'll miss her so much. She passed away later last year, and she left me a wee bit of money. And I thought, I want to do something really positive with this that she would also enjoy. And so I signed myself up for dance lessons. And that's another way to keep fit, to move, to inspire myself. And it's opened up a whole conversation. So I'm working with Joanna Davies, and we have she has a dance school in Orkney, and she has Zoom dance lessons on Fridays, which I just love. And I'm also going to be working with my friend Emma, who actually was one of my Saturday girls way back when. And she's been an amazing dancer all over the world, and came back to Orkney. And so we're going to be having some one-to-one dance lessons as well. But it's a lot of fun, and that's what it's for more than anything else. It's for fun. It's, as I say, to keep you fit. And I love the way that I kind of keep myself in a better position now, in a better posture. Having had just a handful of dance lessons, I'm already just got to keep your core strength, and having a little pointed toe and or a Beyonce slide every now and again.
No, I love that. It's similar to a story of a lady who's going to be on the podcast shortly in the next couple of episodes, and she, without giving away any spoilers, she took up roller skating. So, and I just thought that was awesome, because it's not something that I would think about doing to overcome the isolation that we're all facing right now. And now she's going to the skate park, and obviously you can social distance in that environment, and that's also become her daily form of meditation. Really, it's an hour for her to just be herself and try new things and get out and have some exercise and stuff. And I love it, because she's overcome the feeling of becoming a beginner again, and I think that's something we're all kind of getting used to right now. So that's an amazing story.
Yes, and I think finding ways to get out of your own head, whatever that
100%.
is, it's then you go back into whatever you're doing, or what you've got to do in that day, you go back into it with a completely different mindset and a feeling of peacefulness. I love horse riding. I've been horse riding for years, but when you're riding, you can't really think about other things. You've got to be very present and with your horse. And after I've been riding, or even working with horses, even grooming them, or something where you're very, you've got to focus on what you're doing and the movement, having that time away from your chattering brain and, what ifs and what can I do, and maybe I've got this to-do list. If you can get away from that, even just for an hour, you go back to it, and it helps you no end. Dance or sea swimming or something that gets you away, whatever it is, wherever you find a joy. And like you say, being a beginner again, there's something really, really exciting about that. And I think that's why I've got this real love of dance, and I feel like everybody should dance now. It's so much fun, and allowing yourself to be, just to make mistakes and be a bit rubbish. That's okay. The more you repeat it, and the more you give it a go with an open mind, the better you'll get, if you want to, or you can change to do something else. But it's a very healthy thing to do, I would say.
So you mentioned open water swimming there. When did you start doing that? Because it must be amazing to do that in Orkney.
Yeah, so I started surfing with my brother 4 years ago, and I must admit, it seems a bit daft coming from Orkney, from a group of islands, but I really saw the sea as a complete hindrance. We had to get across it, and then we had to get back, and we had to get back. And when I was younger, I wasn't a great sailor, so I resented the sea, and I was like, oh God, here we go. Anyway, I remember one of the first days I went out with Andrew on the surfboard, and we sat out in the middle of the sea, and it was just so incredible. And I felt so tiny in this huge planet, in this huge ocean, and it was just mesmerizing and exciting, humbling, and a whole lot of things rolled into one, and I just instantly fell in love with it. and the power of the sea. So, you know, that kind of started me thinking about not the sea as an obstacle, but as this other that I could be involved in. And yeah, continued to do some bit of surfing with Andrew. And then I moved to this beautiful little beach house, the beach house studio. And it was during a really difficult time. And I remember thinking, it's kind of one of those moments I was like, you know, what can I do? What can I do here? Because I wasn't feeling creative at all. That had been kind of drained out of me at that stage. And I looked and I had my wetsuit hanging up, and I had a pier right outside my door. I was like, you can swim, you can get in the water. And that was it. And I swam. The first day was on the 1st of December 2019. Which probably sounds like a crazy time to start swimming in the sea. But I just, because I was so close to the sea, I just went in a very short dip every day, little and often. And then I started to build up. You know, because at first you're like, oh, I remember standing, I'm very, very lucky. I've got steps into the sea down from my pier. So it's like a swimming pool, really. And I stepped down, you know, I was just like, oh, why am I doing this? And again, you know, it's my brain telling me, it's too cold, don't go in there, you know, get out. And I had to just stop thinking and just get in. And as soon as I did that every day, it became easier. And then things started to happen. I spoke to other sea swimmers, and my friend Alison Moore, who's a jeweler and an avid sea swimmer diver. She's been capturing photos underneath the water for the last couple of years now. She took a snorkel mask, and I looked under and I was like, oh, there was just magic under there. There was so much colour, life, and things I'd never seen. I had no idea they were right there on my doorstep, and it was beautiful. And then that got me hooked even further. And then the seals started to come a bit closer and swim with me, which was terrifying. I remember the first time one popped up and I was like, oh God, he's going to nibble my toes. I don't know if I like this. They don't nibble your toes, but they're very curious. They're a bit like dogs in the sea, and they want to see what you're up to. And that, you know, that again was amazing. And just seeing the wildlife, and the wildlife comes closer to you because they're curious about what you're doing there. It's the same with surfing. They would come and have it, investigate. So you're getting that bit closer. The swimming it's completely, I'm not going to say it's changed me, but it's definitely had an impact, a really healthy impact on my body. I no longer feel the cold as much, desensitized. And for anyone that's been listening or looking at the work of Wim Hof, breathing techniques and cold showers, I did this a lot, sea swimming, and it's so good for you. So I would encourage everybody to get in the sea, but do it bit by bit. Don't chuck yourself in. Like, you will have a shock. A lot of people in Orkney, especially the Polar Bear Club, they meet in small groups now because it's obviously socially distanced, but they meet in small groups to swim together, and they mainly swim in their swimsuits. I love my wetsuit, especially at this time of year. It just means you can stay in the water longer. I would say swim together, but I swim a lot on my own because I'm so close to the pier and I have neighbours close by. Just don't swim too long, because you can get really, I think it's the adrenaline that rushes through you, gives you such a boost and a burst. And if you overdo it, you've got to think about getting out of the water, getting wrapped up. And if you've got to drive home, I don't, because I'm just right next to the pier. But, you know, give yourself that extra time and build up slowly, little and often. And have a flask and chocolate. That's key for when you get out of the water. Hot tea or whatever your hot beverage is, and chocolate. It's you need that. And just enjoy all of it. Being by the sea, just whether you're sitting in your car or sitting outside, enjoy that as much as being in the water. Sometimes that can be the shortest part of it, but it's a great thing to do, and you meet so many people once you open that door and open that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's been very.
Is there quite an online community around it?
Yes, huge. I had no idea, and I think because so many swimming pools have been shut and people love to swim, so more and more people Swimming in lochs, swimming in the sea. Just be careful. I guess that's the main thing. I haven't done much loch swimming myself, but watch, for getting out your depth too quickly. And those are the times when swimming together is safer. And don't take risks or swim too far, but don't let that hold you back either or create barriers. You'll have more fun just by having a quick dip. And even if a couple of times I just went down to the beach and just in my wellies and paddled just with my feet, because that's as good as anything. It's very grounding as well. So walking by the sea, you're getting just your feet in. That's a good way to start. And it's made me think about new products as well. I'm tasting a bikini and a swimsuit at the moment, and figuring out whether we can produce those with some of Alison's prints and my own designs. So, it's just opened up new conversations, and it's a very healthy thing to do.
That's awesome. When we were researching this, we came across some amazing images of the Surfing in Dresses campaign. Can you tell us about that?
That came out of the blue. As I said, I love surfing. I love that community, and that lifestyle is really inspiring. Although it does stem back to when I was younger and I would watch Home and Away after school. So in my mind, surfing to me was very glamorous. And I remember the first day me and Andrew went surfing in full wetsuits and hoods, and you just look like a big seal, or you just look like a seal. And I remember thinking, well, this is not quite the glamour I imagined, but I loved it and embraced it. I love, as I said, the items that we wear to surf as well. And surfboards were something I was really interested in, because they can be very personalised. And a friend of mine was going to be ordering a new surfboard and suggested that we used one of my textiles for the board, working with a board maker called Roger Cooper, and he was a renowned surfboard maker, and he was going to make this mini mal board for him. And I looked through textiles that I had in the studio, and there was a dress that really struck me. It's come back from the suppliers that I use in the UK, and it had a rip in it. And sometimes that happens in production. Not everything's perfect every time. But they gave me this dress because they thought I could use the fabric in a different way, and so I've been holding on to it. And it had a beautiful, it was almost a watery print. It was actually a photographic print of light and water, and it seemed to fit with the board and and being in the water. So I sent down the dress, and it was laid into the resin and beautifully finished by Roger. And we took that board out for a photo at the Bay of Scale to have its first test run. And I also tried out the bikini that we've been sampling that day too. So I got a shot that I never expected to get, standing at the Bay of Scale in October in a bikini with a surfboard that I'd designed. That was just a dream come true right there. And then got into the water and got flipped over backwards a couple of times. A very humbling experience. And need a bit more practice. But there's a group of girls who surf together here in Orkney, and I'm hoping to meet them soon. And I've been out, getting my confidence back on the board, and gonna try that again. But making something from waste textiles just makes sense to me. Too many fabrics and clothes and items are ended up in landfill, and that's part of the issue. How can we use fabrics in new ways? And as a company, how can we think about not just our design and getting the product to a customer, but what happens with it when it's it's come to the end of its life? Can we repair it along the way, or by using better fabrics, can we repair it? Or when it comes to the end of its life, can we use it in a new way, whether it's in a surfboard? Or the other thing we've been discussing at great length is textiles being used for hospital mattresses as well. There's lots of ways and means of repurposing fabrics. It's just thinking about and connecting the dots and speaking to the right people.
Absolutely. What So we've spoken about a lot of things. What's the one or two things that you want to take forward and keep in focus over the next year or so?
There's lots of things. I think first and foremost, the healthy balance of work and life and blending those together to create a healthier me, which will then impact the people I work with, I hope, in a really positive way. And being bolder again, but with all the things I've learned under my belt, and embracing the new. We're at a pivotal time in history, it feels to me, where we can make changes, and changes that are going to help people, changes that are going to help our planet, and ways of working together that are really going to unite people. And I think that's a real positive. I think COVID, the pandemic, has come for a reason, and we can't stay how we were. We've got to move forward with it, and that means some things will need to change. It's embracing that change. That's my feeling anyway.
Yeah, definitely. We need to adapt.
Yeah.
And then one other question for me: when we can travel again, where do you want to go? Where do you want to see?
Well, I would like to see more of Scotland to start with, and I think that's going to. UK is obviously going to. Well, I'm hoping we're going to open up, fairly soon. But exploring more of Scotland. We've got so much here on our doorsteps, and people and amazing craftsmanship and skills and foods and drinks and colours. There's so much to explore. So I'm looking forward to that, stage one of the opening up. And I would like to do a bit of, I think, horse riding around Scotland sounds like a great idea. Horse riding and designing, maybe, we'll see. And then, there's so many places still I would love to go. I'm keen to go back to Africa. I made great connections in Africa, and I find that a really inspiring place through the people, music, culture. I don't know. There's so many places. I'm going to throw that question back to you while I think. Where would you like to go?
Africa is an interesting one. I've been there once. I've been to South Africa before. And actually, I've also been to Tanzania and Kenya as well. And it's just an amazing place. It's just so rich in the sense of the people, the culture, the environment, the nature, the sheer scale of everything. Everything seems bigger as well. I remember when we flew into Cape Town, there's a mountain range just north of Cape Town, and it's massive, and I wasn't expecting it at all. But it was incredible. It's just an incredible place, a lot of incredible history, and so many great cultures, the wildlife. Africa would definitely be on my list too.
It's so beautiful, and the wildlife, I mean, it was just incredible. But there are lots of beautiful corners of the planet that are yet to be explored. So I'll see where life takes me, and be open to the plan, whatever the plan is.
Wise words.
Go with it. Go with the flow.
Cool. Well, that is all we have time for at the moment. Kirsteen, I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been amazing. I've really enjoyed the conversation, so thank you.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed our conversation this morning. I was looking forward to it. Quite a great start to the day. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for everyone listening to the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, click that notification button, and all the links to where you can find Kirsteen on social media and our website will be below the video. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.